All right, guys, let's just jump right into this. So there's 5 clues that you can look at to know whether or not your seller is motivated or not. But before we go into those clues, there's a few types of motivated sellers you're going to want to know. Look at this graph I have here. This is 6 types of motivated sellers that we like to go after. Obviously, there's probably some more categories out there, but this is what we like. We like going after tired landlords, probate properties, pre-foreclosures. We like going after properties that have back taxes. We like going after properties where the owner is relocating to a different state. And what we like about that one is we like to match that category with a different category. So let's say a relocating that's also a tired landlord. We also like out-of-state owned properties. Knowing these type of categories is really important because you're going to want to know these categories when you're speaking with your seller and you're trying to figure out if they're motivated or not. You might ask a tired landlord, hey, how quick can you sell your property? They might tell you, hey, I just want to know what you would offer. I don't have a time frame on when I want to sell it. But in reality, they might be really motivated to sell that property. They're just a landlord. They own several properties. They know the game and they're just playing the game, and they might be very motivated to sell. But on the other hand, if you ask a probate, hey, how soon do you need to sell this property? Or if you ask somebody in pre-foreclosure, hey, how soon do you need to sell this property? They might just tell you, hey, I need to sell this thing ASAP. Knowing what type of category seller you have is really important when you're trying to distinguish who's motivated and who isn't. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, I want you to ask yourself, if I was in this position that the seller is in, why would I want to sell? Now, keep that in mind when you're thinking about what type of category your seller is in. There's a few different types of qualifying questions I want you to ask your sellers when you're speaking with them over the phone. And there's about 5 different questions. And let me just go ahead and list these questions here. One, you're going to want to know, how soon would you be able to sell the property? How much do you need for the property? Why are you wanting to sell the property? What repairs are needed, and how old is the roof? When you ask the seller, how soon would you be able to sell the property? If they tell you, hey, I don't want to really sell, I'll accept an offer if it's the right offer, but I'm not really in a hurry. Now, that seller, being a tired landlord, he might be motivated to sell it, but he just might be playing the game just like you are. But if you ask that same question to a probate that just inherited the property and they say, hey, I'm not really in a position to sell. I don't really need to sell it, but if you want to make an offer, you can. That probably isn't motivated. But on the flip side, there could be other underlying issues with the property or underlying issues whatsoever that might make them want to sell. So you can't really base a seller's motivation on just 1 or 2 questions. You got to get the whole picture. So another one, why are you wanting to sell it? If they say, hey, I don't really want to sell it, just make me an offer, you called me, they might not be motivated. But if they give you a list of the reasons why they want to sell the property, maybe they say, hey, there's a big hole in the roof, or, hey, I got squatters in the property. If they tell you why they want to sell it, they're probably motivated. I know if I was motivated and somebody asked me why would I want to sell the property that just randomly called me, I'm like, I don't want to sell my property. What are you talking about? So another question is, what repairs are needed? If they tell you, hey, my property is pristine condition, but they bought it 20 years ago and they told you that they've done no update since, maybe they think they might have some gold, or they might not be motivated. But let's say you ask that same question to a tired landlord. Say, hey, my property don't need much repairs. It's in good condition. It's livable. Maybe his livable is different than yours. Asking good questions like, when was the kitchen last updated? When was the bathrooms last updated? Asking those questions not only brings out the motivation, but it also helps them to understand that, hey, I haven't updated my kitchen in 8 years, or I haven't updated this in 5 years. It helps them to realize, hey, my property might not be worth as much as I think it is anyways. So while you're asking them these questions, keep in the back of your mind what type of seller they are. So just like I mentioned before, if they're a tired landlord, while you're asking them those questions, keep in mind, hey, this is a tired landlord. They're going to answer these questions differently than somebody that's going through pre-foreclosure. Why do you want to do this? You as a wholesaler, you are a detective. You're trying to unravel the motivation. You're trying to figure out if this person is motivated. In this business, especially if they're in the tired landlord category, which 80% of deals are, they're going to seem like they're unmotivated when in reality they're actually wanting to sell it. Why do most sellers come off as unmotivated? Now, I'm going to give you a quick story on a deal we did a few years ago. I was doing some cold calls. Guy picks up, says, "Hey man, I saw you own the property at 123 Main Street. Would you consider an offer?" He's like, "Yeah, make me an offer." I was like, "Okay, well, I have a couple questions for you about the property." He says, "Well, if you haven't took the time to look at the property to know what the condition is, why are you trying to make me an offer?" We buy a lot of properties every month, and when we buy them, we don't look at them before we buy them. So when we're making our offers, we're making them based off of what the seller tells us. You know what he tells me? He says, "Well, just make me an offer, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't." He's like, "Okay." I was like, "Well, give me about 3 hours. I'm going to go ahead and run some numbers, and I'll get back with you." I hang up. I run some numbers. I go ahead and I just run numbers as if the property is needing a full rehab and completely needs to be remodeled. So I do my numbers. I come up with an offer of about $120,000. I shoot the offer over to the seller. He says, "Yeah, go ahead and send me the contract." I was like, "Well, shoot, okay." I get the contract written up, send it over to him. He signs it. 2 weeks later, we sell it for $220,000. Now, this seller didn't seem motivated to me when we were talking to him, but he actually was. Come to find out, the guy was relocating and was selling his whole portfolio, and this was one of the last ones left. So definitely keep in mind that there are some sellers out there that seem unmotivated. And when I say some, most of them are going to seem unmotivated. You just got to be a detective and really unravel whether or not the person is unmotivated. And also, most sellers, they're professionals, especially when you keep in mind 80% of the deals come from tired landlords. Landlords are professionals. They are in the real estate business. You are a professional. I hope you're a professional. But most people in the real estate business are professional, and they don't want to lose money on their property, but they also need to sell the property if they're in the position where they need the money. So it's really crucial for you to build rapport and make offers on every single property, no matter if you think they're motivated or not. Because 9 times out of 10, if you think they're unmotivated, they're actually motivated, and they're just waiting for the right person with the right skills to come along and make an offer and buy that property from them. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe if you got any value out of it, and I'll see you next time.